and Lynn is our editor-in-chief of Okemo Valley Magazine. And Lynn, if you would tell the folks about the new issue and kind of where we are with things.
Sure. I don't know if you all have seen our current issue, which is just being distributed as we speak. We're very proud of it. Put under, difficult in some ways circumstances. And now, beginning in June, we'll be looking forward to getting together and coming up with some editorial stories and ideas for the winter-spring issue. So now is a great time, if people have ideas, to get in touch with me, because, we're just at the beginning stages. I've already heard, Carol just mentioned, by the way, that we're already picking up new advertisers for this issue based on people seeing the issue out in distribution, which is exciting. We're also starting a Facebook page, and of course you can actually see the issue on the Okemo Valley website. And if anybody has any questions at the end, I'm here and happy to help.
Any questions on for Lynn? So this issue has two features which were suggested items from members, and they helped with the writing of them. So if you have thoughts on a feature for the magazine, certainly let us know. They go right to Lynn. This is a team effort, and we go through a little bit of a meat grinder approach. It's more positive than that, but we come out with a good product, I think. So thank you, and thank you to Lynn for being just a professional, a really nice person to work with. So that means a lot.
Thank you, Carol.
Sure thing. So Patrick Cody, I was saying he's helping us with today's program. We also do a fair number of a monthly television program called the Chamber Update Show. And Patrick has a few things he's working on, and he had some ideas for today's program. Patrick?
Hey there, yeah. So Carol and I had been talking about about a number of things, as we normally do, and this had come up. So one thing that struck me is that we're all working differently, and we all had to transition sort of almost overnight and learn these new tools. I'm on Zoom all the time, was never on it before the middle of March, and we've sort of, the industry that I'm in media production and TV making in particular, has had to just transition and almost reinvent what we do and how we do it. And it's been kind of a fascinating, if not a little overwhelming process. But we're taking on a number of new projects, one of which was with the Black River Academy Museum. They're doing this project called the Community COVID-19 Memory Project, where they're documenting and archiving artifacts and commentaries and pieces of media, photos, video recordings, and other things from community members as they're living through this moment in history. They want to partner with as broad of a scope from the community as possible. And so I thought that might tie in nicely with the chamber, because the business community is such a big part of the community. And so I would invite you all to participate by just, and it doesn't have to be necessarily in this meeting, but if there is time, maybe at the end we could, but just do like a little roundtable if anybody wants to talk about what they and their business in particular are doing during these times and how you've adapted. I know they would really appreciate including business owners and chamber members in their project. So
sounds great.
That's really all I have. So it's one of many projects that we're working on.
Fabulous. So we could also include it in the next newsletter as well, Patrick, but we're open to suggestion on that. Sounds good. So I think moving right along, Diane is Member Services Director She and I work really closely, don't we, Diane? Even, or maybe even more so during these times. And so Diane has a couple of member introductions to make.
Welcome, welcome, and don't mind my headscarf because I haven't been to the hairdresser. So we have a handful of new members since that are on the call, and I would like to begin by introducing Connie from the Inn at Water's Edge, and I'd love to hear a little bit about all that they have going on because the photos are great.
Well, good afternoon. It's so nice to join you all. I know we come in from out of state like the previous owners did, but they had been there for 20 years, and I know they were well loved in the community. So we're just hoping that our presence is equally as embraced as they were as outsiders. I'm from Pennsylvania. We had been looking for just a place for our family, kind of to make, we were kind of looking for a camp. And my husband golfs, and so he was looking in a different direction than I was because my whole family skis. And so I was like, if he wants, and he likes water, so I just kind of typed in randomly waterfront properties for sale by ski resorts, and up popped the Inn at Water's Edge. And I'm thinking, I wasn't really thinking about that, but let me consider it because my son, my middle son, Mitch, is a chef. And he had a breakfast place in Lancaster, Pennsylvania for a few years. And I thought, I wonder, and he went to Bennington and loves Vermont. And so I just kind of, you know, flew it by him to see if he would be interested in doing it. And he was and is, and he's up there. He's been up there since December, since we thought we would open way before now. But we've been in the process of renovating the inn. It was a beautiful property, but it needed some updating. All the bedrooms, all the bathrooms, everything has been completely redone, including all the walls now have, you know, very little wallpaper and board and batten up and just new carpeting. It's just completely been redone. I'm eager to get you all there for a mixer once we're allowed.
Yay! And people should go on your website to see all the pictures because it looks great.
And those aren't we're getting a professional to come up on June 4th to the 7th. So all those pixelated, you know, iPhone shots will be updated even further. And what he's been doing, Patrick, which I think is funny, my son, since he's up there, is just been, we had a little barn across the road, and he you know, turned it into a chicken coop, and he totally pulled up all the Vermont bamboo. What, you know, you guys probably know what that is.
Japanese knotweed.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's totally pulled that up and made a garden space across there. He's just been revamping the grounds since he's been able to get outside. So it's not just the inside. He is a hard worker, and he's trying to make it.
And you're going to have chickens. Chickens.
He has chickens. They're there.
Yeah. Nice.
Three of them already murdered by a raccoon. So he reinforced. So he reinforced. But yeah, I love it in your community. I think it's beautiful. When I saw the place, I just fell in love. So you know, our family will be up there a lot.
It was destiny.
Yeah, so I'm just.
We look forward to having a mixer at your place. That would be an ideal location.
It would be, and we are happy to do that. We're anxious actually to get the business community in there to see it. So
great. Look forward to it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next new member to chat is Adam, who also hosted a mixer for us earlier in the year from Vermont Barns.
Great. Well, thank you. So that was a fantastic time. It was the last time I think I saw everybody, but yeah, so we've been readjusting to things. We were shut down essentially for about a month or so while all of this transpired, but we're getting back to work with smaller crews now. So that's been going well. But we're getting full for the summertime. So we have a lot of new barn projects that are going on. We have a few home renovations that are taking place. We're finishing up a new home build up on Stratton currently, and have been revamping our website with the time that we've had, expanding our roofing division. So a lot of new things have been taking place for us. So it's been great to be welcomed into the Okemo community, and it's been great being a part of this and looking to expand with some new projects up in that direction as well.
Yay. Glad to have you. And you can pop in and see them right in the village of Ludlow. All righty. Next, I have Linda from Komen, New England.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am familiar with Lynn. I've worked with her remotely to place advertising for the Komen, New England Race for the Cure, and now it's called More Than Pink Walk. It's the second year for the walk. The event is based in Manchester and has been for the last 28 years. And we were supposed to be a July event, and we have postponed, as you can see behind me, to October for the safety of everybody and to see how large a gathering will be allowed to participate. We are at the same time fully preparing to be virtual if we need to be. I personally have been living in Paulet for 34 years, originally a native New Yorker whose family were skiers during weekends in the Stratton area. I'm a big fan of everything Vermont, and have enjoyed raising 3 kids that are now living all over the country. And my husband is a cabinet maker who works here. And I'm very, very glad to join the Okemo Chamber because we also have an event that's based out of Grafton in the winter, a snowshoe event. And we also have a horseback ride that takes place in Woodstock in October. So visit KomenNewEngland.org to learn more about us.
Excellent. We're delighted to have you, and we can help you promote your events too to all our members.
Thank you.
And next, we have Troy from Big Top Adventures.
Well, hello. Thanks so much for inviting me. Glad to be here. Yes, I run a circus company out of Rockingham, Vermont. I'm a native Vermonter and have gone all over the world entertaining people and directing the next generation of, as someone that, let me just break for a minute. As someone that's used to entertaining live and being very close to my audience, it feels awkward being on Zoom, and even more awkward this far apart, but I am aware of the fact that I have to social distance and I need to be 6 feet away from the computer. So actually, you know what?
Okay, you can come closer.
I've got an idea. I have a way to do so. I came prepared. So just give me a minute to get, give it. I
wish we probably should have had masks.
Excuse me.
Yeah, you all right? Are you okay?
Yeah, we'll get it. We'll get it. Okay. You know what? It's just awkward as an entertainer who likes to, interact with people personally. It's real. Oh no, you just froze. Hello?
We're here. We're still here.
You just froze. You know what? All right, hold on. I'm going to shut. Oh, wait. It is a pandemic and I'm not allowed to touch anything. So give me a moment. I've come prepared. Here we go. Oh, that's not convenient. Okay. All right, here we go. Just hang in there. I know you're frozen. Hopefully, there's another piece of it. Oh, geez, this, that's not work. You know what? I'm going to risk life and limb and see if I can get this unfrozen. Give me a moment and I'll be.
We'll try to get Troy back in a bit. Carol, what's next on the agenda?
So Susanna Gillert from Weston Playhouse is joining us today. I've always enjoyed the connection we have with Weston Playhouse, and just asked Susanna to come in and talk about the kind of what's going on there, and their perspective on COVID moving forward would be really good. Hi, Susanna.
Hi. Thank you, Carol, for organizing this and for asking me to participate. I think this is not a joke if I freeze. It happens all too often, but hopefully you can still hear me.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So it occurred to me, Carol, when you asked me to speak, that I'm also happy to answer if anybody has any questions about where the theater is at or where it will be in the future. Please feel free to ask. Where we are right now is we, as I'm sure most of you know, had to cancel our activities for the summer. We did that actually at the beginning of April, looking down the months to come and just seeing the writing on the wall that we wouldn't be able to have gatherings and wouldn't be able to bring our 100+ artists and theater makers to the community. So where we are right now in the short term is looking at opportunities that we can create for creating art online. So we'll be announcing some of that soon, but we're doing some work that I'm really excited about about getting some performance online that we are generating with our artists. We're also hoping to be able later in the summer, possibly August, to do some very small scale, socially distant theater. We don't yet know what that will look like, but it will be things like outdoor theater, possibly what we call station drama. So that's about moving from space to space in an outdoor setting. So a lot of this is very much in development. And we really need to take our time to make sure that we're complying with the CDC and government recommendations. But our goal is to get back together in person as soon as we can. And then, of course, we're thinking ahead to next year when we all expect that we're going to be making some changes to how things have worked historically, and we're trying to make sure that we're doing that in a way that is additive and exciting and not just sad and mask wearing, because we cannot all wear masks in as entertaining a fashion as Troy. So, as I said, I'm happy to take any questions. But a lot of what we're doing right now is being as creative as we can be about the short term.
Yeah, great. And I know in the past you've talked about just reimagining your future. And like we all are, we're really all in the same boat. And I like the idea of not expecting necessarily that we can continue as we have. We don't know at this point, but your perspective is really helpful. Thank you. Andrew Butterfield is also here from Weston Playhouse. Andrew, anything you wanted to add? Just say hello.
Hello, I think Susanna hit it.
Yay. Well, thank you both for joining. We love the Weston Playhouse. Each year in August, the Playhouse has hosted a chamber member event, and so we'll have to stay tuned for that, right? Yeah. So, and Troy, how are you doing there? Did you have anything more to say? Are you all set, or?
Well, I apologize for cutting out. That was completely unprofessional of me. I would like to actually do an introduction, but I'm feeling awkward right now because I just touched my computer without gloves, and I feel as though that, I got to call in my friend Germex. So if you could just hold off for a minute on the introduction, I'd like to feel as though there's less corona. Oh, hold on. Oh, the cap was on. I apologize. Oh man. Oh, that's gross.
Oh, it's painful.
Oh, there's alcohol.
Don't get it in your eyes.
Just, hold on. I got to get a drink. Oh, I am sorry. You know what? We're told to be very cautious about what we put our mouths on. So I got to clean out this alcohol somewhere else. Oh, this might work. Here we go. Red Solo cup. All right. Oh, this is good. All right. You know what? I don't even dare put my lips on that. Oh, here we go. I came prepared with a straw, though. So I hate it when I turn the straw upside down. I am so sorry. So you know what? Why don't you come back to me in a moment? I got to clean up this mess. This is disastrous. I'm so sorry. I'll be back.
Sure thing. Hi there, Kim. Thank you for joining in. I just see you tuned in. So Yankee Magazine is a member of our chamber, and we love that. Jamie Trowbridge is with us. He's the president and CEO. And it's interesting. So Jamie is the third generation to be running the magazine. And in case you didn't know, Farmer's Almanac is also one of the publications, and it's 202 years old. Yankee Magazine came around in 1935, so 85 years ago, and it's interesting, an interesting time to start a magazine right after the Depression. Yeah. I appreciate Jamie being here, and he would have a really unique perspective on tourism and New England tourism. So Jamie, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Carol. Thanks for having me, and it's great, nice to meet all of you. It's also nice to see a healthy chamber adding new members at this time. So congratulations to all of you, and especially Connie, congratulations on taking on an in assignment without even looking for one. That's bold. Yankee is a family business, as Carol mentioned, but it's also partially employee owned. And I have an associate on the call with us, Kelly Moore. Some of you may know her. Kelly, wave.
Hi, Kelly.
And so Kelly's the account executive for Vermont, and we're both here at Carol's invitation. And I guess I as much would like to hear from you as there is stuff I have to say. Carol and I are both on a group call that we're having across state boundaries about reopening New England. Carol is one of the two representatives for Vermont on that call, and she was kind enough to invite me to your meeting today. So it's a very tricky time for tourism, and the trickiest part about it is this state boundary piece. New England's a very small destination, right? I mean, think about people who travel in New England. I mean, it's not uncommon when one of us takes a day trip to go across 3 or 4 state boundaries. And when other people travel in New England, they have the same dynamic applies. And yet right now, each state is independently making decisions about reopening. And usually the criteria they're setting for tourists coming involves limiting out-of-state visitors to basically requiring them to quarantine for 2 weeks when they come. Mm-hmm. And effectively, that dynamic really just doesn't work, that people won't come in and quarantine for 2 weeks so that they can then vacation there. And net effect is that even as lodging properties may be reopened, if they're reopened with a quarantine, the requirement will be that only people from that state can stay there. I mean, that's the net effect of that. Yes. So that's one of the things we've been talking about is how to deal with that as a quandary. As I'm sure you're all aware, northern New England, Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont have had a significantly better experience with the virus in terms of cases and deaths than in southern New England. And I was just on a call earlier today with the board of the New Hampshire Travel Council, and someone floated the idea of, all right, well, when we say, you're coming from out of state, you have this requirement. Not every state is the same in terms of the effect of the contagion in those states. So, for example, what would it be like if Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont opened their borders to each of those states, and people could move freely from a tourism standpoint between them? So those are some of the different ideas that they were talking about now. Of course, it changes every day, as you're all aware, and I'd be particularly interested in hearing from you about your experience with tourism in the Okemo Valley. Are you getting calls from from people wanting to visit. I heard today from folks in Maine and New Hampshire about how there's a lot of people calling saying, I want to come. And the awareness about our being as closed as other places is low, which I was really surprised to hear. So I'd be interested to hear about that, and also about, if you're getting any indications from your governor about plans for opening up tourism, whether it be, for outdoor dining, or what are the requirements for attractions and lodging, anything along those lines. And I'd also welcome your questions.
And today, the governor was talking about investing in marketing to have visitors travel within the state of Vermont. And so it's somewhat of an opportunity to reach out to other parts of the state and get them to come visit Okemo Valley if they haven't, come to this part of the state before. So we're hoping to tap into that.
Excellent.
Carol, you mentioned somebody that called that was looking for lodging, like down in Londonderry, I think it was.
Yeah, so we have been getting regular calls from out-of-state people looking for information. So they're still thinking of us. I think they'd like to be here if they could. They're looking ahead and planning a little bit. So we're regularly sending information out. And I got a phone call yesterday from a woman who was traveling. My sense was she was traveling through Vermont rather than having it be a final destination. But she did know she wanted to stay somewhere close to Londonderry, Vermont, and said it was a critical travel need. And so I made lots of phone calls, just finding out who determines if an exception can be made and what this woman needs to do. And so I got her some information, but didn't know the outcome of that, because even if I asked her if her doctor could provide her a letter saying she had quarantined there. The requirement says you need to quarantine here because there's points of contact between wherever you're coming from. So it's such a complicated issue. Yeah, there wasn't a good answer in that case. Does anyone else have experiences? Are you hearing from anyone from out of state wanting to travel?
I would be interested in hearing a little bit about there's a new New England Today television program that Yankee is doing. I don't know if Jamie wants to update us on that.
Sure. So we have produced 4 seasons now of a public television show we call Weekends with Yankee. And it does air in Vermont. If you go to weekendswithyankee.com, and there's a little station finder on the upper right-hand corner that'll tell you when it airs. That would be our current season that's airing now. And then all 3 of the seasons you can watch on your computer on weekendswithyankee.com, because we've taken our paywall down to permit that. And we're very proud of it. We produced the show in partnership with WGBH. It's aired in all but 1 state across the country. So it's a great way for New England to get broad, New England tourism to get broad exposure across the country, and hopefully it'll bring more folks to southern Vermont.
Have you done different programs in Vermont, in different parts of Vermont?
Yeah, we have. My familiarity with them in terms of what we've done specifically is not as high as it should be. I'm not a big television watcher, to tell you the truth, and so but all the episodes are on weekendswithyankee.com, so you can look those up and see where there's a little synopsis of each one. So you could almost certainly we've done things. Well, I know we've been to Vermont Country Store. I'm not sure what else in southern Vermont we've covered. Kelly, do you know?
I don't think I can recall off the top of my head without looking at a list.
Barrett, did you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. Who's the producer?
So WGBH is the producer. It's part of their lifestyle programming. We sell the sponsorships. We fund the whole thing, but they are the official producer.
Is there a
Technical on our
contact
part,
person? Yeah, is there a contact person if we wanted to be in touch with them?
Yes. Yeah. If you're talking about in terms of the specifics of the show, I'll share that information with Carol, and then she can share it out. How does that sound?
That would be great.
Yeah.
Sure. I'm also curious how the magazine, what kind of reaction, and what are you planning in terms of the magazine? How is the COVID affecting what's happening with the magazine?
Well, the biggest change for us editorially has been in the digital space. We have a fairly robust digital presence, a big e-newsletter. We send out a daily e-news, and we devote one day a week to coverage that is around the region. Not so much a news coverage, but as related coverage looking back in time, for instance, at different times when New England's been under stress, the Great Depression, the Hurricane 38. Trying to kind of just talk about how resilient New Englanders are. And a lot of that shows up in our social channels too. For the magazine itself, it's interesting. We right now we're in the process of producing our fall foliage issue, the September-October issue. We're just getting started on that. And that is a travel issue for us, right? That's an issue. It's a time when we are encouraging people to go all over the region. And for that issue to come out and have it not have that travel information would be a little weird, but we also don't want to appear tone deaf, right? We don't want to be saying, go do this and go do that when it's possible that people won't be able to. So that's where I'm sure you can appreciate, Barrett, the time lag between when you start and finish a publishing project is a real barrier.
Yes. Oh, yes. I have a quick question. Are you Cora's brother?
I am.
Oh, okay. I'm having a meeting with her in another hour.
Yeah, so my sister Cora Trowbridge lives in Brattleboro, and she's the head of BCTV.
Yeah, and I used to be the president.
Oh.
Now I'm just on the board.
Small world.
Yeah. So hi, nice to meet you.
I had a question for Jamie.
Sure thing, Kate.
Hi, everybody. Kate from Smokeshare Design. Jamie, just to clarify, if I heard you right, you're saying that people who are inquiring about traveling to Vermont are not aware of the 14-day quarantine?
I actually don't know about Vermont. I was just saying that I was on a call today with someone from northern New Hampshire who made the point that she's getting tons of calls saying, we want to come, where should we stay? And when she basically says, you can't, or not you can't, but if you do, you have to quarantine for 14 days. They're shocked and surprised. And there was another person on the call who speculated that maybe those calls are coming from farther away, because here in the Northeast, all the states are the same that way right now.
Mm-hmm.
But it is not true in other parts of the country. That's all we could think of. It's like, how could you not know? But I don't know about Vermont. And it doesn't sound like, Carol, you're getting a ton of calls.
We're getting some calls, but not a ton. Nope.
Mm-hmm.
What I would say, and I don't think that Okemo Valley is unique. There's tons of people already here. We have lots of second homeowners. And you just drive down the road, you drive down Main Street. And so a lot of folks who live here part-time are here. And, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's the reality of this situation. Yeah.
Have you had any issues in the community with people being fearful of out-of-state plates. I've heard about that in different instances.
Yeah, I've heard that too. And like I said, there are plenty of visitors now, and I believe they're all second homeowners. Yeah.
I think the tension was a little higher earlier when New York was really starting to build up. There's, I live closer to the Killington area, so there was a lot of tension locally. Concerns about the medical facilities being able to handle an influx of out-of-staters. But I saw some research that showed that cases in ski resorts were actually lower proportionately than in the general population. I can't recall where I saw it, but
it's another issue about reopening is there's the permission, right? Like if that 14-day quarantine goes away, there's that issue as that permission. Let's say that's relieved or excused or rejected. The second issue is, will the community be welcoming? And even in a community as familiar with tourists as Okemo, I can't speak for you and your community, but I've heard about some resort towns in Maine, not resort towns, but you know what I mean, towns that attract a lot of tourists, where basically saying, we don't want you to come here and we're closing our beach. It's our beach, it's our town beach, and we're closing it because we don't want that visitor yet, even if the permission is granted. So
I know Nantucket didn't want people because they only had, I think, 2 or 3 ventilators on the whole island.
Right. So that'll be one of the challenges to reopening too on tourism is even after the permissions are granted, will people come and will they be welcomed?
Yeah, I think that, from what we're hearing and some of what we're seeing is that people want visitors here. It's our economy, but they also want a smart way to get there. I think they want it to be balanced, so that I think we're not quite there yet. But I know there's a lot of anxious businesses, who want visitors back. So hopefully we'll know before long. So the governor has opened lodging May 22nd, but would require the 2-week quarantine that Jamie's talked about, and that could be reduced by 1 week if proof of quarantine could be provided. And so the details to that, I'm sure, is still being worked out. So that's where we are currently.
Yeah, just making a note of that. So when you say that the 7 days, it's 7 days if you've proved that you've quarantined elsewhere?
Yes. And so, I'm not sure, because I guess I would want to go back and look at that. So if you read one press release, from one press release to another, it says different things, I was noticing. And so I always like to tie it back to the governor's executive orders and addendums and so on.
So if you don't mind me interjecting for just a moment, I believe that the quarantine would be lifted after 1 week if they could prove that they had tested negative for COVID.
There you go.
I believe that was the caveat there.
Thank you.
That makes more sense.
So is it okay with Jamie, with you and everybody, if we talk about the governor's announcement earlier today?
Yeah, please proceed. I'd like to hear about that. I'm sure everyone would.
So the governor, and this is not in writing, but Diane will get her hands on a press release or executive order, hopefully the video, and then we'll share it out to membership. So he announced a $400 million economic recovery plan, first phase, and all of this still needs to be approved by the legislature. But I'd imagine they're not going to announce something that they don't think won't be approved. So the first phase is $310 million considered immediate relief to help businesses to stay afloat. Loans and grants, technical assistance, in-state marketing, and housing or rental assistance. The second phase is 90 million, and those steps are still in development. So they weren't ready to talk about that quite yet. The relief is specific to hospitality, retail, and agriculture. So just that's very encouraging. We're putting together a Zoom, another Zoom program for next Friday. So people can tune in, and so we'll get as much detail as possible for that Zoom meeting. It's 2 o'clock next Friday, the 29th. We're tying it into a presentation from the Vermont Chamber and also the Small Business Development Center on reopening restaurants and lodging. So we'll come to that meeting with some specifics for restaurants and lodging, and also any additional detail we can make you aware of for the governor's announcement. So to me, it's encouraging. It's an additional step. The steps taken so far have been positive for some businesses and not so much for others. So I appreciate this additional step. What else do we have to cover? Anything else? Any other announcements people want to make? Questions?
Mhm.
I think it's a wrap. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jamie. I appreciate it. Thanks everybody for joining in. See you again
Thank you.
soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Aye.
Nice to
Bye.
meet you.